All right, so we are back live. So, a couple things before we get it rolling. So, yes, geez, that was fun. So you get your third straight win over South Carolina State, but you struggled there at the end to put away Buddy Pugh and the Bulldogs. But overall, win is a win at the end of the day. You advance now to 4-2. You got Grambling next week. Still a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot that needs to be looked at and reevaluated before you get to next week's game. And we're going to talk about that, of course, after the intro rolls and stuff. So interesting thing, and can't even read the stat line yet because the stat line hasn't dropped. But a couple interesting things was if you noticed there towards the end, and this is where I talk about mental toughness and mental preparation. Towards the end there, South Carolina State was struggling to make plays. FAMU's defense realistically wasn't, although they kept calling penalties on FAMU. They tried to give South Carolina State that game, but I will say too, there were a lot of penalties on that series when South Carolina State was driving, where those penalties should have offsetted. And we're going to talk about it, of course. I wish I could talk about the stat line, but I can't. A couple scores before we do roll the intro. Jackson State 17, Alabama State 12, 11:54 left to go in the fourth. Prairie View and Southern tied up in the second quarter 10-10. Texas Southern 17, Arkansas Pine Bluff 17. Uh, Alabama A&M in overtime beats Grambling 37-31. Grambling will go another week without having the G on the helmet. Cincinnati beats USF. Georgia currently leads Auburn 21-3. Oklahoma State trails by 4 to Texas Tech. Utah down by just a little less than about 5 points. Soon to be 4 to UCLA 21-16. What else we got here? At the half, Ohio State leads Michigan State. And then we've also got Tennessee getting the win, their biggest win over LSU since 1993. TCU ends Kansas's long run of an undefeated season, 38-31. Texas blinks Oklahoma for the first time since 1965. And that's your run of games around the country. So without further ado, the intro's next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. All right. So, so one thing that I did hit on towards the end of the game was this, and I even said it on Twitter, for those of you that are on Twitter. I hope today's lesson was that we learned to not sit on a 3 touchdown lead because, quite honestly, things like this tend to happen. When you sit on leads and you get conservative, you tend to let teams hang around like this. They start to look up at the scoreboard and realize, oh, wow, the deficit's not that great as we think it is. And these guys really aren't trying as hard as they were earlier. So, we can still find life. All it takes is 1 or 2 plays to swing us back in this game. And quite honestly, we're very grateful that Corey Fields Jr. is not a consistent quarterback as far as passing goes. We are very fortunate because if that had been someone that is like Cole Kelly, Southeast Louisiana, Shador, somebody else, or even Drake May, we would have gotten eaten alive. We would have lost. And quite honestly, like I stated earlier, there were a lot of questionable calls because this was a MEAC officiating crew. And I know a lot of people in the MEAC are probably still salty about the fact that FAMU left. And yes, the moneymaker in that conference left along with two other schools. And the fact of, we're not going to give this to them and let them get away that easily against one of our prouder teams that has stuck by us for the longest. So yeah, they were going to make it hard. But at the same time, too, if you call holding or if you call illegal hands to the face, there's usually a hold that goes along with it from South Carolina on offense. If you're going to call holding on FAMU's offensive line, you need to call the face mask on South Carolina State's linebackers. There's I can honestly say towards the end there were at least 5 penalties that should have offsetted and replay the down. But because of who's refereeing this game, you don't get that. Now, at the same time, too, the blame does not also fall on the referees. There's plenty of blame to go around in this game. You don't want to single one person out, but you can't be that conservative towards the end. You can't be that conservative in general. This is the type of game where you need to go for the jugular. They are the defending HBCU national champions. And then you beat them 30-7 in Tallahassee last year. They have not forgotten. You have to go for the jugular. This is a game where you bury them. You don't sit pretty on 3 touchdowns. You bury them. I don't care what adjustments they make in the second half. You make adjustments in the second half as well. And you bury them. We got a comment. Oh, by the way, leave your comments and stuff too. Leave your comments. We got a comment actually from Twitter. Lesson number 2, Musa needs to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Too many mistakes under pressure. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I think, honestly, if you look at the 2 interceptions that he threw straight to B.J. Davis, they were both in the same passing lane. And I think, and because, they do mold quality linebacker play at South Carolina State. If you look at what they were doing towards the end there when FAMU was still passing the ball, B.J. Davis was able to sit in that pat. Yeah, you and me both. When this is over, I might go fix myself one, honestly. But, yeah, it's like when you go to the well that many times through that same passing lane, an experienced linebacker is going to pick that up and read that. Pass rushers, active hands coming through that passing lane. You're coming through like this with your hands up. Linebackers are going to drop into coverage, probably show blitz, drop back, which is what B.J. Davis did. And he's going to take away that lane for you, which he did twice. He's a heck of a specimen. South Carolina State molds him, especially at that position. And then we're lucky, too. Shaq Davis, heck of a talent, but he couldn't reel in certain catches. Why? Because his quarterback's inconsistent. I haven't been this upset after a win in a while. Yeah, no, I'm like you. I'm happy we won, but my God, it was the way that the game was won, because you see where this team can go and what it could be, but then it's like, my God, we still have a long way to go and trying to figure things out. But part of that is not being so inconsistent and going conservative. Because there are certain points in the game where I'm sitting there and I'm getting sleepy looking at this, and I'm just like, we haven't scored in a while. I think we went too conservative. Oh, yeah, no, we did. Realistically, if you're going to go conservative like that, you want to run the score up until the third quarter. Because then when you go conservative, you can put your backups in because it's a very safe lead. Because honestly, I know I said 34-24 to start, but there is no excuse why we should not have won this game, honestly, 38-0, 38-14. There's no excuse why we shouldn't have, because that could have very well been the final gun. That could have been it, but I don't know why. The interesting thing was FAMU came into the game 2.5 point favorites. They sure enough covered that, according to Caesar Sportsbook. But yeah, it's something. That's something. So next week, now FAMU travels to Grant. They squandered an opportunity to make a statement to the SWAC and me I can play. Oh yeah, they did. They did. It in a game like this, and then even I would say the Albany State game, those are the two games where you needed to impress the playoff committee the most, because when playoff committee goes back and looks at your non-conference schedule, and if South Carolina State, the only thing that's working for FAMU now is if South Carolina State can win the MEAC again. That would say a lot about the score today. Just getting here, what was the score? It was 20-14. FAMU won. FAMU came away on top. So it was a win, but wasn't pretty. But back to your comment. So as far as the playoff committee, they're going to look at two things. They're going to look at the Albany State game as far as out of conference play, and they're going to look at, for one, the Jackson State game, and they're going to also look at the third one, South Carolina State game. South Carolina State, in my opinion, if they go on to win the MEAC, this looks a little bit better from the playoff committee. Albany State runs the table, which I'm sure they're doing right now. It looks good to them as well. Jackson State's running the table as well. They're currently the 8th-ranked team in the country. They're going to win at Alabama State's homecoming. That looks good as well. But at the same time, too, you can't struggle in games like this. If we would have had a repeat of last year's game where we won 30-7, this would have looked a lot sexier to the playoff committee. But we got what we got. And what happened. Now, still, a win is a win. Take nothing away from it. But there's a lot to still be desired and cleaned up as you go to Grambling next week. Because Grambling's going to look at this. They just lost today. They're 1-5. They're going to look at you on film and going to say, you know what? Dang. I hope to God they go conservative like that, or come in here looking conservative, because we have the ability. Number 11 was getting toasted. 69 was getting beat all day on L1. Yeah, BJ Bowler, the height advantage that Shaq Davis had over him did him no favors, quite honestly. And if you really think about it, the last play of the game where they put Shaq Davis on the side in the sun on the far side of where the camera was and tried to send him on a go route, realistically, and plus I understand too, they were shadowing him with Javon Morgan, but realistically, if I'm the OC at South Carolina State, I'm leaving Shaq Davis on that side on the near side of the field, near side of the camera, and I'm sending him on a fly route against BJ Bowler. Because he had 2 TDs on him. You could have easily just sent him downfield again, throw it up, let's see what happens. Hopefully that safety can get over top. I don't think South Carolina. I don't think they're going to win it either. Quite honestly, right now it looks like on paper North Carolina Central, because I mean they do have the best record in the MEAC, and plus they have a key win over New Hampshire, and then they did lose to a pretty good Campbell team as well. But yeah, I don't think that this is the year South Carolina State takes it, which does not do you any favors again if you're FAMU for the playoff committee. And even if you look at, oh my gosh, the MEAC standings are just horrid. It's actually crazy because 1-5, Norfolk State actually has the best overall chance of winning the conference right now because they beat Morgan State today in conference play. Nobody else has played a conference game. So 4-1 North Carolina Central sitting in second place in the MEAC. It tells you how crappy of a conference that is. That's just outright pitiful. But yeah, it's like I said, good win, but bad. Special teams I felt was good today. Defense only gave up 14 points. They did enough. FAMU's defense today did enough to win that game. It's this offense that still needs to come around, and we're still waiting on it. Oh, yeah, very much. very much. But yeah, it's FAMU's offense still needs to come around because if FAMU's offense that came around and did what it was supposed to do from the start all the way to the finish, those two TDs to Shaq Davis would have been garbage time TDs, and they would not have even really mattered. But instead, they mattered, and new life was breathed in. Offense play obviously conservative in the second half, and defense stayed on the field far too long, making them tired. Yeah, and honestly, the fact that they got tired and only gave up two TDs is impressive in that of itself. But the offensive play calling in the second half, when they get up like they did, needs to be better. The emphasis now going forward needs to be calling a complete game, not letting your foot off the gas pedal in the second half. I was Jalen McCloud getting so. I'm wondering the same thing. I'm wondering the same thing. I wish again that I had the stat line in front of me. I can't even get a hold of the stat line, but watch maybe like 5 hours from now I'll be able to get it. But I'm wondering the same thing because you could have used the rotation of backs by committee. You could have put in AJ Davis. You could have put in Terrell Jennings. Terrell Jennings looked good today. He did. On certain counter plays and where they're pulling guards and stuff, those plays spring Jennings and he goes. I don't know why they went away from it. I don't know why. But again, at the same time too, I will say this. You do have the makings of a good football team despite it all. Because there were no true costly mental errors that could have defensively that could have put you in a bind and kept this game going. I will say that offensively, you still got to figure it out. Defensively, you had the mental toughness towards the end to, yeah. Defensively, towards the end, you had the mental toughness and wherewithal to force Corey Fields to make tough throws in tight windows or up against a serious amount of pressure to where he couldn't defense dominate even. Yeah, they did. And they did. And that's the makings of a good defense. And I think going forward throughout the rest of the season, it's going to be like that, where the defense is going to have to be the ones to make the plays to win games. Because look, how many interceptions did we have today? We had 2 interceptions. I'm sure. I know we had a minimum of 2 interceptions, but 2 interceptions that realistically you hope could have been house calls. But things like that is what's going to win you games going forward until this offense finds itself. And honestly, it's going to get to a point in the season where it's not going to be enough just to get the interceptions. We're going to have to score off interceptions. Or at least create a really, really, really short field. And when I say really short field, I'm talking about maybe you may have to put the offense on the 5-yard line in order just to give them a chance. Because as much as I love Jose Romo Martinez and what he does and how consistent he is, field goals are not always the way to go. You're going to need more than just field goals to put a lot of teams away. You're going to need more than field goals to put away Southern. You're going to need field goals to put away Bethune. You're going to need more than field goals to put away Bethune. You don't know what Arkansas Pine Bluff's going to roll in with on homecoming. You don't know how they're going to show up. It's winnable, but you're going to need more than field goals to put them away too. You're going to need more than just first half dominance to put away all 3 of those teams. You're going to need more than just first half dominance to win next week too. Because despite the fact that Grambling is 1-5, they're coming in that game pissed. They're 1-5. After going to media day and saying, you know what, this is our conference, they're pissed off because they know they shouldn't be 1-5, and they want to earn that G back on the side of their helmets. They're going to come into their home game next week wanting to win, and especially wanting to win knowing they could possibly play with you in the second half after what they just saw or after what you just put on film for them to see. But I digress. It's a lot. It's a lot that needs to still be desired. Offensively, there's a lot that still needs to be desired. You're playing good defensive football, just not playing good offensive football. Don't know what else there is to say as far as that goes. Still no stat line. That sucks. Still no stat line. Anybody got anything in the comment section? Anybody? Because I can't really keep going without a stat line, honestly. Oh, going once, going twice. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and wrap this up. Your defense gave the offense. Defense gave the offense several chances to put it away. Yeah, they did. They did. They sure did. Did Xavier Smith and Cherie get any targets? They did, and honestly, that is where they messed up. And this officiating crew screwed up horribly. So they ran a screen pass out to Xavier Smith, and the ball was nowhere near the ground. The ball was literally right at his abdomen. He catches it, and then he makes a football move, but then the referee blows the whistle calling it incomplete, which I do not get. I don't know if the sun was in his eye, which is not a good excuse. That's a crappy excuse for a referee, given as much training as those guys get. But I don't know. But they did get targets. They got their fair share of targets in the second half. Kamar Stevens. Yeah, as far as tight end play, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his last name because it's not Stevens. But Kamar Young. Yeah, Kamar Young played a good game. He had a heck of a game. I feel like they should have gone to him more, given him more opportunities. There was a point where they were running plays to the tight end, but they went away from it. Oh, Kamar Steve. Oh, 97. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, he had a good game too. His whole defensive front had a good game. I saw General Hunt flying around making plays. I saw Isaiah Land for the most part flying around making plays. I saw Kamari Stevens flying around making plays. That whole defensive front, they had a pretty good game today. A lot of the pressure, and I will say this, one of the key plays where he makes a play on Corey Fields, he's getting held, but they call for a face mask call on the sack, which makes no sense to me because that was one of the key plays that should have resulted in a offsetting penalty and replay the down. It shouldn't have been a first down for South Carolina State. The defensive end, he's been pass rush. He's been pass rush battle. Yeah, he has. And they gel so well together. He has stepped up a lot this season. I've been very impressed with what he's done. Honestly, I was at the Mississippi Valley game when he had the scoop that should have gone for a score, but he lost his footing. But hey, it's okay. Hopefully, he gets another opportunity. You got to score off of those, and the way it looks offensively, you're going to need to score off of those going forward. Like I said, I would like to see more defensive touchdowns for the defense going forward. I really would, because I don't know what Southern's going to bring to the table, and going forward, I don't know what the rest of these teams are going to bring to the table, but we need to get used to scoring on defense. It's not going to be enough just to get takeaways. But like I said, if you get turnovers on defense, you need to either score or you need to come within centimeters of the end zone to give this offense a chance. So, yeah, that's my take of that. Where are we at? All right, so, yep, no stat line still. So, yeah, folks, since there's no stat line, yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'll be back. We're back Tuesday night, Last Give podcast. Flash and Ace will have that. And then, of course, as you know, Running Gun Podcast Wednesday night. We're going to hopefully have Allison Posey from ABC News in Tallahassee joining us to talk about FAMU, Florida State, and high school prep sports in the NFL and the whole 6 or the whole 9. But, yeah, and as well, too, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, all of our social media platforms, at Throw Flags on Instagram. And, yeah, so FAMU wins today 20-14, moves on to 4-2. huge win, much needed to keep pace, still alive for that 9-2 season that I think we all know that they're capable of having. Next week is at Grambling. Well, I'll be back again next Saturday to do this again. So thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your Sundays. If you are in Orangeburg, have a safe drive or safe flight, or however you traveled by if you took a boat. Hey, have a safe boat ride back to Tallahassee or wherever you're going. Be safe. Enjoy your NFL Sunday as well. Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr Monday night, and then of course you got Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson on Sunday night. So it's going to be a fun one tomorrow and Monday night. So thank you so much, folks. We'll see you Tuesday night. Stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you Tuesday.